the end of the day, fish keeping is 50% water quality and it's 50% food quality. Now, most fish food is processed, pressure cooked crap, whereas other fish foods are very high quality. I am very biased towards Danichi, which is a slow cooked holistic food, and New Life Spectrum. Now, New Life Spectrum is one of the most heavily researched food in the world, and it is set at the absorption rate of fish. So Pablo Talbot did a whole bunch of research into all different types of species of fish and found what do they actually use of what you actually feed them. And he came up with some very revolutionary findings where he actually found that the ratios of nutrients and vitamins that are absorbed by a fish from one species to another is pretty much the same. So you can feed a goldfish, a saltwater fish, a herbivore, a predator, whatever you want. You can literally feed them the same food and get the same result. Now, how the fish process the food makes a big difference. So the herbivores have very long digestive systems, and they're able to process very hard to digest foodstuffs, and they tend to have a lot of vitamins, and they tend to try to extract proteins. Whereas a predator has a very short digestive system, generally a very large stomach, and it will process massive amounts of protein trying to absorb vitamins. So therefore, if you feed predator foods to a predator, you get heaps of crappy protein getting released. If you feed heaps of green stuff to a herbivore, you get heaps of hard to digest foodstuffs being produced. Whereas if you feed a food which is at the absorption rate of the fish, therefore you can feed the same food to all fish, and the amount of waste that comes out is very, very low. So these sorts of foods, if not overfed, are very, very clean. So the amount of waste produced in the water by these foods are very low. Now, this is once again all premised on the fact that you don't overfeed them. High nutrient foods will produce a lot of waste if overfed. So therefore, if we want to look at what to feed, then there's various options for what to feed. For example, some foods float, which will benefit fish that are top dwellers. Some foods sink, so that will benefit bottom dwellers. So you do need to look at the belly of the fish over time. And if you notice your bigger fish getting skinny, you might need bigger pellets. If you notice your smaller fish getting skinny, you might need smaller pellets. If you notice your top fish getting skinny, you might need floating food. If you notice your bottom fish getting skinny, you might need sinking food. So very basic observation is really how you make sure that your fish stay nice and healthy. And it's really important to know what a healthy fish looks like, because we usually work on 30-second rule. So we feed the fish 5 times a week what they eat in 30 seconds, and that means all the food's gone after 30 seconds. But that's just really a guide to get started. Over time, if we notice a belly, then whatever we're doing, we have to decrease it. And if you notice the stomach getting concaved, then whatever we're doing, we have to increase it. And you want to make any changes very slow. So you want to give it a good month or 2 months to notice any difference. And you want to really pay attention to which fish are getting skinny and which fish are getting fat, and just make some slightly obvious observations there. And you can just alter what you're feeding to get the result you want. And if in doubt, if you just email us or send us a little video or photos of the particular fish, and we'll tell you if they're too skinny or too fat. Because it's very common that I'll go to somebody's house and all their fish are fat or all their fish are skinny, and they have no idea. So it's really important to understand, of that species of fish, what does a fat fish or what does a skinny fish look like? So once again, fish keeping is 50% food quality and 50% water quality. It's very common for people to be very aware of their water quality, but overlook their food quality. My job is basically going from aquarium to aquarium and analyzing what's going on with the aquarium and looking at how to improve it. And the funny thing is, I'll go to one person's house and all the fish look great. I'll test the water, it's absolutely terrible. I look in the cupboard, good quality food. I go to the very next house, all the fish are dying. I test the water, it's much better than the last house, but I look in the cupboard and there you go, bad quality food. So that's how I've developed my bias over the last 30 years. And I've become very biased to New Life Spectrum and Danichi, because they're the foods that when I've got terrible water and the fish all should be dying, but they all look fine, and I look in the cupboard, and what are they feeding? Sure enough, Spectrum or Danichi. Now, the other thing that's quite good to be aware of is ICP testing. So there's various things in the aquarium industry that we can test. A lot of the major elements we're able to test, but sometimes if there's something going on in your aquarium that you're actually not that sure of, what we can do is send away an ICP test to a company like Triton, and Triton can give us a really good breakdown of all the laboratory tests that we're not able to access. And it's a wonderful way of improving an environment that you didn't know needed improving, but it's also a wonderful way of debunking problems. A lot of the time, the problems that the Triton test fix are problems that you didn't even know you had, where you can address a problem and start seeing a significant benefit due to fixing issues that you really didn't know that you didn't know.
Rock's so much dirtier than I thought it was.
A merman that cleans his own tank.
Yeah. Go and try and convince one of them that mermen are real.
Mermen are real. What do you mean?
Yeah, there's one right here.
You just have to believe. Do you believe?
I believe. How much filth is coming off this rock?
Yeah. I actually thought they were pretty clean until you started cleaning it.
Yeah, I thought it was really clean as well, and then I started cleaning. I'm like, whoa. And once you start, you can't stop, because otherwise it looks crazy.
Kringle rocks.
It's very good quality rock, but it almost seems real.
It is. I think James made these rocks.
Who?
James Middlemith from memory. He's very clever. He used to work at Majestic.
Actually.
As far as adding plants to your aquarium, if you add plants that are actually growing, then the plants will have a positive effect on the environment. If, on the other hand, the plants are dying, particularly if you're adding something like a terrestrial plant, and then that terrestrial plant is slowly dying off, then all that's going to do is add phosphate and various nutrients into the water that will just encourage your algae growth. If we can remove any rotting leaves from the water, that will decrease nutrient levels, and that will reduce the amount of algae that you grow. You can also see that now that we've cleaned the rocks, a significant amount of sediment has come off the rocks. Doing things like big rock cleans. This rock actually looked pretty clean to start with, but now that we've done the clean and we've got all the waste off, there was actually a lot more than it did look like. So in a perfect world, we'd probably add some sludge remover, or in a more perfect world, do a repeat gravel clean soon, because all the waste that's come off during the rock clean is now going to settle in the gravel. So aquarium services are never complete. Doing a follow-up service is really the best. So if that was possible to arrange a gravel clean sometime soon, now that that's all settled, then in a perfect world that would be really wonderful, but absolutely not crucial.